Hiya folks, I've been spending my hard-earned cash again on top-handle chainsaws. The first one I purchased was back in February of this year, 2022, and it's the Makita DUC306Z with a 12-inch bar, chain obviously. Now, the reason why I purchased this one before I purchased this Stihl one is because of three reasons. One, the top handle saw that I've been using since 2016, the MS151 petrol Stihl chainsaw, is basically on its way out. And a lot of my arborist work when I'm climbing, I want a nice light saw to work with. So what I did first is I purchased this body only. Reason being I picked the Makita over the Stihl first is because I had the batteries and the chargers already, due to the fact that I use impact drivers, torches, etc. from the Makita range. And the best thing about it, they've all got the capacity with using the one battery. Two 5-amp batteries, pretty simple to use chainsaw. We've got two settings, normal, and if you hold that button in long enough, turbo, and nice brake bar on it. Again, nice simple to use chainsaw. It's pretty light, but it's well built as well. That's what I like to see once it comes on. Now, what we've also got here is basically a little screw that you can, which you can turn on and off the oil, which is very handy for whenever you are not using the chainsaw. The oil will obviously be to lubricate the bar and chain. This was quite a surprise for me, mainly because I wasn't 100% to certainty to buy a Makita chainsaw. Obviously everything that I've had Stihl, to a lesser extent Husqvarna. The DUC306 weighs probably about the same in weight as a 201 TC with a full tank. So it's quite heavy, it's not as light as same as a small top handle saw from Stihl. But the benefits of a battery operated unit far outweighs the non-benefits. First off, what do you need to do to start it up? I've just showed you. There's no pulling, there's no putting chokes on, there's no fueling up. Most importantly, when you're climbing, obviously you just need to press a button and you're cutting. The other benefits of a battery chainsaw is, well, if you're working behind the back of a tree shredder, if there's an odd branch that's not seen to be going through, you can pick this up, cut it. You don't need to be messing around starting up this chainsaw. Battery life, this is where the problems do start. The Makita batteries don't last that long. Obviously these are designed for, well, drills, but two of them together probably has lasted me about an hour at a time. So what I did was, once I purchased the unit, I had two 5-amp batteries already, and then I went on the next sort of week after to buy two more, and that pretty much does the work for what I need. Now, the Makita range, you can get you can get disc cutters and strimmers and hedge cutters, etc, etc, etc. But this is actually designed for tree climbing. Obviously, it's got the little clip to attach to your harness for when you go up trees. 100% recommend it. If you've already got Makita and you've got the batteries and the chargers lying around, definitely buy one. I think they were just over about £240 if I recall correctly. Negativity things, the batteries don't last as long as the Stihl unit, which I will show you, but there again, nothing's perfect. Although, don't quote me on this, I have understand that Makita is bringing out a much more higher ampage battery, but I believe they're quite expensive. Would you get one if you haven't already got one? 100%. Like I said, this is really amazing considering it's only a battery operated saw. In the next little video which I've got, it will show me climbing, and obviously climbing with the Stihl. And basically I cut two large cypress trees down with the 2 battery operated saws, obviously minus the trunk part, which you still have to get your larger chainsaws out for. But yeah, 100% buy one. Just a quick heads up, if Makita ever brought out a top handle saw that was a lot more powerful, I would definitely buy one. Obviously we're having the batteries and the chargers already, I only need to buy the bodies only. So we put that to the side. Now this one, the Stihl MS A161T, was my first top handle battery operated saw from Stihl or Stihl, depending on what days this is, they will say Stihl from now on. Now the batteries on these are a lot more bigger. I mean, that weighs quite a large amount, but it makes the unit feel more solid. When it's out, it does feel like a bit of a toy chainsaw that you might give the kids at the Christmas time to pretend if they're tree surgeons, although I wouldn't recommend the industry. Again, what would I say about this? Number one, in the hand, well balanced. It's slightly lighter than the Makita, but you wouldn't really notice it. Again, these are designed for arborists in mind. Obviously, you've got the clip to catch onto your harness. Now, in the video, which I've just mentioned before, when I'm felling the larger Leylandii cypress tree, you will notice this being used. That particular tree, about 85% of the felling was with this one saw. And obviously I went on to the other unit once I finished. Battery life, again, these are the problem with battery operated saws. But on one battery using this, 85% of the tree was cut down, and as you will know, that the tree was quite dense. What I like about it is that there's no pulling. Again, it's a battery operated saw. Brake bar off, I should be wearing my PPE, but I'm inside and I'm on stable ground, so it should be okay. Handle down, you got a little button to your left, and then also these are the little Pico chains which you can use on the MS151 and also the combi engine chainsaw attachments. So if you ever get stuck, you can take the chain off the other unit. Still, obviously, it's going to bring these out more and more. I would personally say that the Stihl one it's got more capability. Obviously, the batteries and the chargers. If you're into arborist work, you'll obviously lean towards Stihl equipment. Although the Makita one, I've got to say, is still the surprise of the century, and I'll most likely be using that more than this. What I don't like about it is that it does look more like a toy than an actual chainsaw, but that doesn't really bother me. I mean, if you can tell how dirty it is already, you can always tell if obviously an arborist is working a lot by if the equipment's clean or tidy, clean or not. What's to say about something that I will not go back to? I don't think I'll ever go back to the petrol top handle saws, unless of course I need a 201TC, which is more of the arborist's preferred choice for when you have to fell a tree. These are not meant to replace the petrol units, the 201TC. These are more for pruning and lighter jobs, although they can get stuck into the bigger jobs if needed. The only thing is with battery operated equipment is that the batteries do cost quite a lot. Now the Stihl one costs us probably I paid about 160 to 170 for the battery, and it's roughly about 160 to 180 for the 2 5-amp batteries. So if you buy enough batteries, you will obviously be buying the costing of the unit over multiple times. But you've got to factor in the problem of you're not using too much energy to start the unit up. You don't have to have petrol, worry about servicing, carburetors malfunctioning, etc, etc, etc. You just literally pick it up, press a button, and away you go. The MS151 petrol saw, which I've had since 2016, is on its last legs, and I won't replace that like for like. These have replaced the smaller top handle saws, although Stihl is bringing out a new, more heavy duty top handle saw in spring/summer of this year. This is being filmed in April of 2022. I don't know what the conditions are for ampage and that sort of situation in different countries, for example Australia, New Zealand and America, but the battery's charge is probably about 20 to 40 minutes on the Stihl one and roughly the same on the Makita one. I haven't really timed it. Obviously when you come home you put your batteries on. I would say if you're going to buy a battery operated saw and you've got Makita already and you do the work that I do, which is basically a lot of smaller pruning jobs and the occasional larger job, go for the Makita. It's going to do you good. The Stihl one is more for people who's going to be getting into the batteries, the more the battery range I should say, and obviously you should be in a position where batteries are the way forward. I believe the new batteries from Stihl is the 500S, and if you put a 500S into the Stihl saw, it's going to run pretty much all day. So in conclusion, go to buy one, it all depends on your circumstances and choice. Would I think that the Makita one's better than the Stihl or vice versa? It comes down to personal choice. But the Makita one it has been the surprise of the two. Have I had any issues with any saws? No, you put the batteries in and away you go. Although behind here there is, I don't know if you can see it on camera, like a metal sheet of sorts. That seemed to have jammed up next to the chain, and obviously I had to take it apart to identify what the problem was. But that's it. Essentially what these are is just a motor that runs a chain shaped in a chainsaw. Now, the Stihl range, you're going to get larger chainsaws, the top handle saws are going to get bigger and bigger, and then obviously you've got the edge cutting equipment which you can use the same batteries on. These are the AP300 range batteries. These have been out for a while, but it's a toss-up between purchasing multiple 300 batteries, which are not the most heavy duty batteries you can get, or buy one big one that will last you and last you. I prefer to have a mixture of two. Obviously I purchased this battery last month, I purchased another battery this month, so hopefully by the end of the year I'll definitely have another chainsaw or hedge cutter unit in the batteries, but I'll always have plenty of batteries with me. Chargers are roughly, I can't recall the exact price, but they're not that too dear. Right, if you're going to swap in your top handle saws, get battery ones. Which one you get is personal preference. Obviously I was a bit of a skeptic at first, but now that I've been using them, and obviously I'll be showing you evidence that they can be used on the very larger jobs, crack on with it and buy at least one of them. And most importantly, if you like me got a bit of an issue with your shoulder, you're not starting when it's cold or it's flooded, you just press a button and away it goes. Right, thank you very much for watching. I'm not going to show you the batteries being operated because each job that you do is slightly different to the other. You could be in a position where you're topping a smaller tree or cutting a hedge down, and obviously it's all depending on what cutting you do. Some of the reviews I've watched on these units, basically they've just turned the units on and let the chain go around until the battery's flat. That doesn't really mean anything. It's depending on what wood you're using, how fast if you're using turbo mode on the Makita one, etc. The Stihl one I'd probably lean towards slightly being a bit more powerful, but again, it's not noticeable. But yes, definitely buy one if you've not already got one. And thank you very much for watching, and if there's any questions, leave it in the comment section. Thank you.